this age where, you know, there's ludicrous mode in your car, goes 1.9 seconds, 0 to 60.
2.2.
2.2. Which one's 1.9? The Roadster?
Oh, the next generation Roadster.
Okay.
Standard edition.
Yeah, I'm on top of this shit.
That's what that.
Standard edition.
Yeah, so throughout the performance package.
What performance package?
Yeah.
What the fuck do you need?
We're gonna put rocket thrusters on it.
For real?
Yes.
What are they gonna burn?
Nothing. Ultra high pressure compressed air.
Just air?
Called gas thrusters.
Then do you have to have air tanks, or are they
Yes.
just sucking the air out of? Okay.
Yeah, it's an electric pump.
Whoa.
Pump it up to like 10,000 psi.
And how fast are we talking? 0 to 60.
How fast do you want to go?
I want to go.
We could make it just
instantaneously.
fly.
I want to go back in time.
Could make it fly.
You make it fly.
Sure.
Right, I'm going to play a few sections of this video coming up, but this guy claims he's inside a 747 fuel tank, and what I want you to pay attention to is the loud banging noise that you can hear, because this guy's working above him. Now bear that in mind when I've said about the noise of the fuel going into the tanks. Also look at the ducting pipes. He tells you where the fuel's pumped between the wings to balance the system when in flight. It's utter nonsense. I mean, they'll be going to the APU at the back of the aircraft, which pumps air into the different jet engines, etc., to fire them up, and also the air conditioning units will get their air from there here as well. Anyway, let me just play a spot.
Delta Flight Museum, we're here in the right wing fuel tank of the 747 of ship 6301. We try to do Facebook Live, no signal down here.
There, you heard the bang. I don't know how he's keeping a straight face, this guy. Anyway, let me play a bit more.
So we're going to do what we can and then post it later. But we do want to show you some of this stuff. This is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us. So we're really happy to see it. We are in, as you can see, it's not one big open fuel tank. If you want to look down here, you can see that the fuel tanks are actually divided by walls.
Now, that, if you baffles people, that is what they claim will stop the sloshing. And in a second, he'll walk through these sections, and right at the bottom of them, you can see light between them, so that the fuel allegedly can slosh at the bottom through this hole. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Add all the wiring in there. It's not even funny anymore.
This keeps the fuel from draining to one side or the other when the aircraft makes maneuvers. And then, of course, each fuel tank is actually almost completely separated. And there's a series of pumps and hoses that.
This is nothing to do with the fuel, the liquid fuel. It's absolutely ridiculous, this thing, anyway.
Helps distribute the fuel during flight, distributes it to engines.
Bear in mind your air conditioning units, as I said to you, the APU. This is not a fuel pump, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. I'm going to fast forward it on because obviously I don't want to get in trouble for using the full thing in the video and all that jazz. I mean, look at this holes there.
Everything labeled. So if anything ever needs to be replaced, everything has its own number. And this
rivets, wires everywhere, holes where the ducting goes through. Does this look like a fuel tank? Bear in mind, he said he's drained this thing out and there's not a drop of liquid fuel to be seen anywhere. Hold on.
Here, this is the ribs, and on top of here is where you get to the actual the skin of the wing. So we're going to round the corner and get to the hatch, the fuel tank hatch, where we'll exit.
Not a single drop of liquid fuel anywhere. Not a drop.
And then this would take us to another, this is the wall. Okay, so I'm going to go down the hatch, and Austin's going to follow me.
That's a hatch where you just climb out of. There's no like fantastic seal on it or anything. You know, bear in mind this is liquid aviation fuel that's supposed to be sloshing it. It's just, I mean, I don't even know what to say. Now look at that ducting that he tells you where the fuel's pumped between the
There we go.
Well, you can see it there. It doesn't even reach the ground, so it wouldn't even pump the fluid below, about a head height below him. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here. Let me just pause this. Just going to leave you with this graphic here, which pretty much says it all. Actually, 747, 404 million quid for that bit of aluminium tin can, 238,000 litres, 63,000 gallons of liquid fuel. Now, just if you can see that there, one of those domestic tanks holds 1,000 litres of domestic heating oil, 264 gallons, 1 metric tonne. So that would be 238 of those giant tanks sloshing about in the wings. Does any of this make sense to anybody? Anyway.
Hello, Dave here from Enslaved by No Media. Just had a thought, and I just wanted to put it out there to the masses, okay? So we are discovering that planes may be running on compressed air, meaning that the turbines, the front of the engine, is sucking in air, and all the fan blades, all the fan blades in succession are compressing that air down and then converting it out the back end as really hot compressed air, because that's what happens when you compress air. It turns to heat. So with that set aside for a second, think of how a plane takes off, okay? It creates that natural lift, okay? And it just stays at that angle, that pitch, for seemingly a long time, it feels like, right? It seems like planes are off, climbing all the time. And as long as they maintain that particular angle, pitch, they're going to create the drag and the lift they need to maintain that lift at that angle. Now, picture a plane at 30,000 feet. What is the atmosphere at 30,000 feet? It's higher than Mount Everest, right? It's less dense. The atmosphere is different up there from what we're breathing on the ground. Now, what if in the wings, instead of fuel, it had this compressed air? Not only air that's pressurized like it is on ground, but the whole fuselage as well is filled with this pressurized air. We're breathing air on the planes. We know it's just like being on the ground, right? I mean, if we were breathing the outside air on a jet, we'd be dead within a minute or two from no oxygen. The plane, when you're taking off, it's making a lot of noise, it's got a lot of thrust. It's going about 150 to 180 miles an hour, although that is suspect, by the way, but let's just say it. And it climbs that whole time at an angle, creating the natural lift. And then once it reaches proper operating elevation, the seatbelt sign comes off and everything kind of quiets down and it feels like you're just floating through air. What if you really were just floating through air? I mean, they lie about everything else in this world. I mean, planes are flying on air. And anyways, I just wanted to get that out there, and I want to know what others think about, the climbing and the different atmosphere and the air in the fuselage. But anyway, planes do fly on air, and we are being hoaxed, and we need to figure out a way of exposing this. A lot more people need to research this, share the news, ask questions, and just get to the answers that we need so that we can bust this wide open and create some free travel. I think we're owed some free traveling in our lifetime, having to put up with all this, 100 years worth of free flying that we've had to pay for. Anyway, that's a personal opinion, right? Nothing meant there to the Illuminati or whatever's in control of me. Just whatever, speaking my mind, being free. Before I go here, I'd like to also expose a little more about this compressed air cover-up. I'm going to play little bits and pieces of these illusionists, these people that try and cover up this compressed air show that they're not telling us about. And another liar is going to be a gentleman talking about the motor on the back of the airplane. On the back of the plane there's a hole, okay, and there's an auxiliary motor in there, and that is where your compressed air is supposedly coming from while it's on the ground and going up into the air. So a little talk about that, and kind of read between the lines and notice how all the compressed air is used while the plane is in flight. And they're going to show you diagrams and how it all works, and just realize that we're being hoaxed, okay? These things are flying on turbine air compressed and then heated air, and then while it's in the air, it's maintaining this.
Then the engine powers itself. So where does the compressed air come from? Well, for most civilian turbines, it comes from one of three sources. The most common is the APU, or the auxiliary power unit. It's just
In this age where, there's ludicrous mode in your car, goes 1.9 seconds, 0 to 60.
2.2.
2.2. Which one's 1.9? The Roadster?
Oh, the next generation Roadster.
Okay.
Standard edition.
Yeah, I'm on top of this shit.
That's without.
Standard edition.
Yeah, so it's without the performance package.
What performance package?
Yeah.
What the fuck do you need?
We're gonna put rocket thrusters on it.
For real?
Yes.
What are they gonna burn?
Nothing. Ultra high pressure compressed air.
Just
Gas,
air?
Cold gas thrusters.
Then do you have to have air tanks, or are they
Yeah.
just sucking the air out of? Okay.
Yeah, it's an electric pump.
Whoa.
Pump it up to like 10,000 psi.
And how fast are we talking? 0 to 60.
How fast do you want to go?
I want to go.
We could make it just
instantaneously.
fly.
I want to go back in time.
Can make it fly.
You make it fly.
Sure.
Did you have to have air tanks, or are they just sucking the air out? Okay. Yeah, it's an electric pump. Whoa. Pump it up to like 10,000 psi. And how fast are we talking? 0 to 60. How fast do you want to go? I want to go. We could make it just fly. I want to go back in time. Make it fly. You make it fly.
small turbine engine, usually located near the tail, that provides compressed air and electricity. It powers the aircraft's electrical systems on the ground, it supplements compressed air and electricity while flying, and it acts as an all-around backup for electrical and pneumatic needs. And it can send compressed air to both of the engine's air turbine starters. It's small enough to start with a battery, so when you normally start the jet, you first start the APU. Simple enough. But what happens if it's broken? Now, this happens a little bit more often than you'd actually think. In that case, you'll need an external source of compressed air, and the most common is the hover cart. It's an air compressor that hooks up to the side of an aircraft, and it provides compressed air for engine starting. It's officially called an air start unit, but no one really calls it that. And now that engine 2 is up, we need to start engine 1. But we don't need the cart anymore. We can actually use engine 2 for that. Turbine engines bleed off bypass air for aircraft systems, like the heated de-ice systems and the cabin pressurization system. And we can route compressed air from engine 2 to the air turbine starter on engine 1. We simply open the bleeds on engine 2, open the crossfeed to engine 1, and voila, engine 1's ready to start.
Pretty serious. But the problem is airplanes fly best high up in the air, and people breathe best nearer to the ground. So to compensate for that low pressure, low oxygen air, the airline industry invented pressurized cabins. Today, all commercial airlines have pressurized cabins to keep people breathing comfortably. But since they don't have tanks of air on board, they have to supplement the air in the cabin from some other source. Jet turbines sort of look like massive sets of fans, one after another, lots of different blades. Inside of that jet engine, air is spun through fan after fan, compressing it, causing it to heat up, before mixing it with some fuel to thrust the plane forward. Because it's compressed by the engines, it pushes the oxygen closer together, which is good for the jet because it can burn oxygen with fuel, but it also makes the air breathable for passengers inside. So before it's burned, some of that hot air is shunted away from the engine. This is called bleed air and sent into the airplane. It's still a little too hot to breathe though, between 200 and 250 Celsius. So it first heads into the wings to keep them from icing over, and into the plane to keep it warm. Once that's done, the air is cooled to match the needs of the passengers so it can be mixed with the regular cabin air. And that's it. Voila! Fresh outside air at altitude. The excess old air is vented through an outflow valve to keep the cabin pressure constant. Of course, there's an unfortunate side effect of all this. At high altitudes, humidity is really, really low, and after being heated and cooled a couple times,
And what else occurred to me here is I've done videos on tank sizes in our vehicles, and it just occurred to me after doing that little video on the landscape truck pulling liquid in the back that the reason why our tanks in our vehicles are not bigger is for that reason, is because we would lose stability with our cars and trucks if we had tanks that were 2, 3, 4 times the size. Now, we could conceivably be going around with 100-gallon tanks and not visiting gas stations for over a month. But, guys, if we had big tanks like that, it would throw off our vehicles' steering. We would be all over the place, especially in curves, you know, curving off the highway, yielding in traffic and what have you. Any kind of high-speed turn, these cars would be flipping because of the weight involved in the liquid. So liquid is heavy, and it is why it is not in the plane's wings, guys. They must be using some kind of compressed helium in the wings, and then the air engines are getting them off the ground, and once they're up high where the nitrogen is higher and the oxygen is less, these things can float a hell of a lot easier. And that's when they can slow down and just float through the air. So,
what's that? That's the fuel hose. That cart's small. Hey, are they turning anything on yet? Did he just hit a valve? Well, they're conversing. I think they need a third guy. No, he's walking by. They haven't done anything, have they? Yep, the other guy went on the other side. You can see real good in here if you want to watch it.
So now there's a guy on the ladder and 2 messing around with the pump.
No, he's not on the ladder. He's on the truck out back. They're still looking at it like how to see if you can see the hose move, right? They get a pump what? 5,000 gallons?
It's supposed to be under this high pressure, right? That loosey-goosey hose on the ground, as soon as they started doing that thing would whip around.
Right.
Like as soon as it started blasting through.
So are they ready to disconnect already? No. We must have turned it on, right? It's going 2 minutes right now since I turned this on. It just seems too lackadaisical of a process. Like, if it's fuel, why don't they have more?
People can trip on it, or is it?
Yeah, it's just they don't even know what's happening. They're just standing around talking, doing what they're told.
They're just giving, they're just giving the steps. Here's the steps. I totally agree.
And they won't even go to the other side.
Because they never have the. Think about when you see a fuel guy show up to the gas station. He's very
Organized.
and concerned. And,
He puts out flags and everything, right?
I mean, he makes sure nobody's around him.
And look how small that cart is. Wait. Yeah, this.
Well, that's just the pump big man. Like it's got a 10 horsepower motor.
Right, it's coming from underground. Yeah, I know that.